Archana, today you start, then Sumti will read the next. And then Shilpa will read the next. We are only 3 today.
As as only Brahman is real, only a consciousness or a power of Brahman could be a real creator and a creator of reality. But since there can be no other reality than Brahman, pure and absolute, there can be no true creative power of Brahman. A Brahman consciousness aware of real beings, forms, and happenings would signify a truth of the becoming, a spiritual and material reality of the universe, which the experience of the Supreme Truth negates and nullifies, and with which its sole existence is logically incompatible. Maya's creation is a presentation of beings, names, forms, happenings, things impossible to accept as true, contradictory of the indeterminable purity of the one existence. Maya then is not real, it is non existent. Maya is itself an illusion, the parent of numberless illusions. But still, this illusion and its works have some kind of existence and so must in some way be real. Moreover, the universe does not exist in a void, but stands because it is imposed on Brahman. It is based in a way on the one reality. We ourselves in the illusion attribute its forms, names, relations, happenings to the Brahman, become aware of all things as the Brahman, see the reality through these unrealities. There is then a reality in Maya. It is at the same time real and unreal, existent and non existent, or let us say it is neither real nor unreal. It is a paradox, a supra-rational enigma. But what then is this mystery, or is it insoluble? How comes this illusion to intervene in Brahman existence? What is the nature of this unreal reality of Maya?
Yeah. So that's the. So if you remember the arguments, and that's very difficult to remember what arguments. So first he says that the physical world is real. So then he argues and finally comes to yes, it is real. Even for the materialist, it is real also for the ascetic. Okay. You have to come to that conclusion. Now he is discussing further, and we'll go back to the beginning of the para. I tried to once make a chart of all the different stages of the arguments, but it's not easy. You get lost in. I'll try again, but I have to see. So now he's still talking of the the Brahman is only real. Okay. No. So let me see. I'll just look at the in the previous para he has said. I'm reading out the summary of what I made in the previous so that we get the continuity. He says earlier he has examined the theory that the physical world is real. And he has seen that if it is real, then you go on arguing, and you come to the fact that the Brahman also is real and the world is real. And it is Satchidananda which supports the world. Now he is examining the unreality of the physical world. He has examined the materialistic theory. Now he is examining the ascetic theory. So I am reading out the summary of what he said in the previous para so that we have the continuity. I am reading. Now let us examine the theory that the percept, that is the world, is unreal and only the perceiver is real. But who is the perceiver? Is it the individual soul or is it Brahman, the supreme soul or the supreme reality? The perceiver is the individual soul. This question is discussed later on page 654, para 11. So now we are shifting to the another aspect. Okay? So he is asking a question. Okay, the world is unreal. So who is seeing it as unreal? Is it the individual soul? Or is it the Brahman himself? Because we have come to the fact that the Brahman is real. The supreme soul is the supreme reality. That's what he is asking. So, in the theory of classical illusionism, which is Mayavada, there is only supreme reality. He is discussing the unreality of the physical world. So in that classical illusionism, which is the theory he is examining now, there is only supreme reality. The Satchidananda is the only reality and the rest is all unreal. But its natural becomings are transient images. It is putting out images, but they are transient. Okay? So that supreme is the only reality. It is the substratum and the base of all created things, which are therefore either unreal or half real, shadows, rainbows, etc. Remember you have to keep in mind many things. He is now examining the theory that the world is unreal. That is the ascetic theory. But the ascetic says that the universe is, the Supreme Brahman is the only reality. So we have got two things. The Supreme Brahman is real and the world is unreal. So now he is saying, if it is unreal and you are seeing things as unreal, what is the nature of these things which you are seeing and saying unreal? Are they not coming from the only reality? There is no other possibility. So even those things which you are seeing as unreal in the physical world, someone is creating these unreality. So is it the Brahman that is creating? That's what he is asking. Okay? So I read the paragraph again and it will be clear. In the theory of classical illusionism, Mayavada, there is only supreme reality. They accept that the nirvana consciousness is in the experiencing the only reality. That is the Brahman. But its natural becomings are transient images because you are saying that the physical world is unreal. So if they are unreal, you are seeing only images. That supreme is the only reality. It is the substratum, the base of all created things, which are therefore either unreal or half real. How does he come to that conclusion? You have started with the fact that the ascetic is saying the physical world is unreal. On the other hand, you are saying that there is a reality creating these unrealities. Now, is it possible logically for the real to create unreal? That is doubtful. Therefore, it is half real and half unreal. That's what Swami is saying. Okay? Logically. It is the substratum, the base of all created things, which are therefore either unreal or half real. Shadows, rainbows, etc. We see that in the physical world also. The Supreme Self is featureless, nameless, relationless, immutable, ever the same. But if it is so, we may ask ourselves, what is the relation of this Supreme Reality to the universal illusion? Okay, that's a question that we have to ask ourselves. Just one second. Let me, why is it not coming? Oh, it has disappeared. So that's what is being discussed. What is the relation between the supreme reality and the illusions? Is there a connection at all? That's what we discussed. So now we go back to the para that we read just now. As only Brahman is real, okay, that's a Mayavadin is admitting. Only a consciousness or a power of Brahman to be a real creator and a creator of realities. A reality can never create unrealities. That's logical. He has told you earlier that there are logic does not apply in these. But when we are arguing, we have to use logic. So, as only Brahman is real, only a consciousness or a power of Brahman could be a real creator and a creator of realities. But since there is no other reality than Brahman, pure and absolute, there can be no true creative power of Brahman. Just one second. But since there can be no other reality than Brahman, pure and absolute, there can be no true creative power of Brahman. He is the only reality and he is absolute. Now, what does that word absolute mean? It means it is self-sufficient and it is absolutely static. And if it is static, it doesn't have the power to create. That's the logic being used. So therefore, it cannot create anything other than itself. It is real, but there is no power to create. Okay? Remember, Srinivada's philosophy, the power to create comes from the higher level of the Brahman. You have to go even higher and then you get the power to create. So this is the argument that Srinivada is giving. The Nirvana consciousness is static and it has no power to create. A Brahman consciousness, aware of real beings, forms and happenings, would signify a truth of the becoming. If you see that in that consciousness you are able to see some forms, those forms must necessarily be true, okay? Because it is coming from the truth. A spiritual and material reality of the universe, which the experience of the Supreme Truth negates and nullifies, and with which its sole existence is logically incompatible. So you have a peculiar situation where you are met with a contradiction. Okay? The absolute, static, immutable reality is not capable of making forms. So the physical world, how can Brahman create those forms? Okay, so it cannot be that. So you have a problem. You have a problem. At the same time, when you are in that consciousness, you are seeing that there are unrealities created. So experience is contradicting logic. That's the whole point. Okay? A Brahman consciousness aware of real beings, forms, and happenings would signify a truth of the becoming. So what what you are seeing can only be true and it cannot be false. By logic, the reality cannot produce something unreal. Its nature is reality, it must produce something real. A spiritual and material reality of the universe, which the experience of the Supreme Truth negates and nullifies, and with its sole experience is logically incompatible. Maya's creation is a presentation of beings, names, forms, happenings, things, impossible to accept as true, contradictory of the indeterminable purity of the one existence. Maya then is not real. Even the power to create the Maya is not real, it is non existent. Maya is itself an illusion, a parent of numberless illusions. But still, this illusion and its works have some kind of existence because you are seeing their unreality. When you are seeing, obviously, whatever it is, real or unreal or half real or quarter real, you are seeing something and that must be existing because you are seeing it, have some kind of existence and so in some way real. Moreover, the universe does not exist in a void but stands because it is imposed on Brahman. There you are. The universe which is being created and you are seeing as unreal, it cannot be in a void. It has to be something in supporting it. Moreover, the universe does not exist in a void, but stands because it is imposed on Brahman. Like the cinema images on a screen, a white screen. Okay, it's being imposed on it. They are themselves, the images are only not fully real, but it's being imposed on it. So therefore, there must be some reality to the images also. It is based in a way on the one reality. We ourselves in the illusion attribute its forms, names, relations, happenings to the Brahman because aware of all things as the Brahman, see the reality through these unrealities. That also is a spiritual experience. When you are in the cosmic consciousness, then you can see the reality behind all the forms, which at one level you are seeing as unreal. There is then a reality in Maya. So we have a contradiction. On the one hand, if you argue, you come to Maya can be non-existent. It cannot. On the other hand, there is a reality because what you are saying, you, whatever the quality of the reality, but you are seeing it, therefore it must be real. Or let us say, it is neither real nor unreal. That also is a possibility. It's a paradox. It's a, you are met with a supra-rational enigma and you don't know what the answer is because on the one hand you argue and you see it is real, on the other hand you see it is non-real. Okay? So what is the solution? But what then is this mystery? Or is it insoluble? How comes this illusion to intervene in Brahman existence. What is the nature of this unreal reality of Maya? The power to create itself, we have to examine. That's what he's saying. And note also that these three sentences, the each one is beginning with a lowercase because this is his style, which nobody does. Okay, but Sri Aurobindo does it because he is discussing the same question and half agreeing to the grammar that is being imposed on him by the English language. So, what then is this mystery, or is it insoluble? Lowercase how? Okay, he is beginning the sentence without a capital letter. How comes this? How comes this illusion to intervene in Brahman existence? What is this mystery? Illogicality. What is the nature of this unreal reality of Maya? So now that's what he's going to deal with. Alright? So again we can do one thing. Just one second. So what we have read just now, I will read the summary. Okay? To continue the discussion, how can a reality create an illusory world? Let us then examine the relation between the reality, which is the Brahman consciousness, and the physical world, which you are seeing as unreal. Remember, it's very important to remember the background of what he is saying. Each step you have to remember. He is discussing the Mayavada theory. Okay? The Mayavada theory says that there is a Brahman which is absolutely real, and yet at the same time you are seeing the physical world as unreal. So that's what is discussed. Okay? How can a reality create an illusory world? Let us then examine the relation between that reality and the manifested world. We will now examine the relation between the universe and its creator. How did the supreme reality create a supreme unreality, which is the universe? That's what this discussion is all about. If Brahman alone is real and immutable, that means it cannot change itself into anything. It is static. It has no power. If Brahman alone is real and immutable, we have accepted that it is immutable. It cannot create. Something immutable cannot become mutable. It cannot create because that's the only reality. Therefore, the universe cannot be real. That's the argument. Maya creates the universe which we experience and use. But these creations are false and therefore Maya is itself unreal and false. This is the logic. Therefore, Maya must be. So if you are using, okay, it must be real and unreal at the same time because Maya is the creative power of Brahman, therefore real. But its creations are unreal because only Brahman is real. But since man is experiencing the world, it must be at least partially real. Man can perceive the reality through these unrealities. It's possible to have a spiritual experience where you see that you can see the divine presence behind all the forms that are temporary. Okay? Remember, level 1 in ignorance, we are seeing the physical world as real. Level 2, you go to the Brahmic consciousness, and that is the only reality, and the physical world is unreal. But is that the last? Saswendra is hinting that if you go slightly higher, you will see that there is a divine presence behind all the unreal forms. And they are not really unreal, but they are temporarily real. So you can say in a certain sense that they are unreal because they are born and they disappear. But man is experiencing the world, it must be at least partially real, partly real. Man can perceive the reality through these unrealities of the many in the universe. We have therefore a paradox and a supra-rational mystery. How did this unreality come into existence? What is Maya, this unreal, real entity? So you remember the argument of the three things: the perceiver, the percept, and the perception. So here, what is the perception? It is a creative power of the divine, of the, or if you want, of the nirvana. So he is examining the relation between the, when the relation is Maya. So let us now examine the nature of Maya. That's what he's saying. So you get the drift, no? So now he's going to examine the perception, which is Maya. Okay? So we have to remember many things and actually note down on a piece of paper. Now he is discussing this, now he is discussing this, then it becomes clear. Okay? But it's a very difficult chapter, but we'll try our best. Anyway, we can summarize it and in some way, but this is sheer argument. In fact, Jugalda used to say that if you want to read Life Divine, you must know logic. And in knowledge, there are about 10 or 15 books on logic. The way the laws of the mental thinking. Contraries cannot be real at the same time. All sorts of rules are there. So now we will go to the next paragraph. So, Sunki, Achana, they read the next one. So, Sunki, you read this one. At first sight.
Yes.
Yeah.
At first sight, one is compelled to suppose that Brahman must be, in some way, the percipient of Maya. For Brahman is the sole reality, and if he is not the percipient, who then perceives the illusion? Any other percipient is not in existence. The individual who is in us, the apparent witness, is himself phenomenal and unreal, a creation of Maya. But if Brahman is the percipient, how is it possible that the illusion can persist for a moment, since the true consciousness of the percipient is consciousness of self, an awareness of solely of its own pure self-existence? If Brahman perceives the world and things with a true consciousness, then they must all be self and real. But since they are not the pure self-existence, but at best are forms of it and are seen through a phenomenal ignorance, this realistic solution is not possible. Yet we have to accept, provisionally at least, the universe as a fact, an impossibility as a thing that is, since Maya is there, and her works persist and obsess the spirit with its sense, however false, of their reality. It is on this basis that we have, then, to face and solve the dilemma.
Okay. So, apart from all these arguments that he is doing, I will give you the basic solution that Sri Aurobindo finds, and that will help us to keep track of everything and keep our mind, uh, rooted to reality and the sensible. Okay, so what he's saying, he has told you earlier. We'll read this paragraph, but I'm giving you the final solution, so that if you keep that in mind, you'll understand. There is the Brahman consciousness. Okay? There is a perceiver. There is the percept. There is a, or to use more intelligible terms, there is a knower who wants to know. There is something to be known, which is the universe. And there is a process by which the knower can know the known, or to be known if you want. And that is what you call knowledge. So he is examining one by one, and the Mayavada philosophy is saying that the physical world is unreal and the Brahman is the only reality. Okay? That's what the Mayavada philosophy is saying. And on the other hand, the materialist is saying that the physical world is the only reality and there is no such thing. So now Surendra is discussing this triple aspect. The knower, the knowledge and the known. So by all sorts of arguments he goes on and eliminating one by one, eliminating all the one by one, and he comes to the solution that the problem is not the unreality of the world, but the problem is the knowledge aspect, the relation between the knower and the known. what instruments of knowledge are you using? Okay. So the more imperfect the instruments of knowledge, the more imperfect will this percept the world seem to be. But if you use the right instruments, you will see the physical world as real. And this reality of the instruments goes on improving as you go higher and higher in the scale of existence. So at the highest level, your vision is perfect. At the lower level, your vision is clouded. And you see not the reality, but something which seems to be unreal. This is the solution he will finally come to. Okay? The problem is not the physical world, but the instruments of knowledge. Therefore, the book 2, part 2, is the discussion of what exactly is the instruments of knowledge. What are the instruments of knowledge? That is what we will discuss in the next one. We are now in book 2, part 1, okay, where he is discussing the problem. Clear? So keep that in mind. So he is going on arguing, and sometimes these arguments can be quite difficult for us, but we'll try and keep track. But the final solution is this. The materialist is not true, is not, his theory is not real, we can't accept. The ascetic also we can't accept. The problem is not the unreality of the world, but the instruments of knowledge which we are using. So use the right instruments. And that you can do when you go to the supramental level. But if you don't go to the supramental level, there is a problem. In the lower categories, there is a problem, but you are going nearer and nearer. You are going. It's exactly like I am myopic, and I have to use spectacles. But if I use spectacles which are colored, grey, and almost black, I don't see the reality. So what I have to do? I have to use better specs. So I start clearing up the grey and make it as transparent as possible. But now the glasses are broken. So instead of seeing one, I am seeing the many because my glasses are broken. So as you go on, try and get glasses which are not broken. Okay? So these images help to understand the problem. Okay? Then finally at the highest level, you don't even need specs which are transparent and pure and perfect. You don't even need specs because your knowledge you get by becoming the knower and the known become one. There is no need of knowledge at all. There is no need of instruments. This is what is the gist of what Srimad is saying in this in this chapter. Okay, so keep that in mind. Then we will go on seeing the arguments, and the arguments are very clear, but it can be confusing. So it is 8:19. We have 15 minutes, more than that. So I now read the para that we just now Sunki read. Okay, at first sight. Okay, you got it? At first sight, page 459. At first sight, he is examining what is the nature of Maya. That's what he is discussing. What is the nature of the instrument? What is the nature of the relation between the Brahman and the physical world? It is Maya. Some sort of creative power of Brahman is creating these illusions. So that's what he is saying. At first sight, one is compelled to suppose that Brahman must be in some way the percipient of Maya. Okay? So, for Brahman is the sole reality, and if he is not the percipient, who then perceives the illusion? It could be that it's not the Brahman consciousness, but the individual soul of man. Okay? But now remember that the individual is belonging to the world, and the world is unreal. Therefore, the individual also is unreal. So you have to rule out the individual who is seeing this world as unreal. So it's only the Brahman who is seeing the world as unreal. This is the logic that is going to apply now. But later on, in the next paragraph or next paragraph, he will discuss the case where the individual is seeing the unreality, not the Brahman. Okay? He is examining one by one, I told you, each one. So now he is examining, Brahman can only be the one that is seeing the unreality. Why? Because the individual belongs where? Does he belong to the Brahman or does he belong to the universe? He belongs in the universe. And if he belongs in the universe is unreal. Therefore, the individual is unreal. So only the Brahman can be the one who is perceiving the unreality of the physical world. So, at first sight, one is compelled to suppose that Brahman must be in some way the percipient of Maya. For Brahman is the sole reality, and if he is not the perceivant, who then perceives the illusion? Okay? If you argue that it is the individual who is saying, now Srindu comes to that. And if any other percipient is not in existence, the individual who is in us, the apparent witness, is himself phenomenal and unreal, a creation of Maya. But if Brahman is the percipient, how is it possible that the illusion can persist for a moment, since the true consciousness of the percipient is consciousness of self, an awareness solely of its own pure self-existence? The Brahman, which is real, cannot see unreality. It's not possible. Okay? If Brahman perceives the world and things with a true consciousness, then they must all be itself and real. But since they are not the pure self-existence, but at best only forms of it and are seen through a phenomenal ignorance, this realistic solution is not possible. Yet we have to accept, provisionally at least, the universe as a fact. Why? Because that's a spiritual experience. You are seeing the physical world. Whether real or unreal, it exists. So you have to accept it provisionally. Provisionally, because we are arguing each case. So in this case, we have to accept the provisionally. Yet we have to accept, provisionally at least, the universe as a fact. An impossibility as a thing that is. Since Maya is there and her works persist and obsess the spirit with a sense, however false, of their being. It's on this basis that we have then to face and solve the dilemma. Okay? So we have to examine the perception. What is the nature of perception? That's the argument. Okay. We have 24, we have got 10 minutes, 11 minutes actually. So we can read third paragraph. Shilpa,
I will read.
yeah, if Maya is in some way, I hope you are following the argument. It's quite complicated. Okay, go on. If Maya is in some way,
If Maya is in some way real, the conclusion imposes itself that Brahman and the reality is in that way the percipient of Maya. Maya may be his power of differentiating perception, but the power of Maya consciousness, which distinguishes it from the true consciousness of soul spiritual self, is its creative perception of difference. Or Maya must be, at least if this creation of difference is considered to be only a result and not the essence of Maya force, some power of Brahman's consciousness, for it is only a consciousness that can see or create an illusion, and there cannot be another original or originating consciousness than that of Brahman. But since Brahman is also self-aware forever, there must be a double status of Brahman consciousness. One conscious of the soul reality, the other conscious of the unrealities to which by its creative perception of them, it gives some kind of apparent existence. This unreality, sorry, these unrealities cannot be made of the substance of the reality, for that they also must be real. In this view, one cannot accept the assertion of the Upanishads that the world is made out of the supreme existence, is a becoming an outcome or product of the eternal being. Brahman is not the material cause of the universe, our nature, as opposed to ourself, is made of its spiritual substance. It is constructed out of the unreal reality of Maya. But on the contrary, our spiritual being is of that substance, is indeed the Brahman. Brahman is above Maya, but he is also the percipient of his creation, both from above and from within Maya. This dual consciousness offers itself as the sole plausible explanation of the riddle of the real eternal percipient, an unreal percept and a perception that is a half real, creator of unreal percepts.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the argument being given now. So remember what we discussed. Uh, okay. To summarize again very clearly, number one, he is examining the world is the real, and he has argued, and we have seen that if the world is real, it cannot be real unless it is supported by something. And science itself is giving a hint that the material world is being supported by energy. Matter is energy. Now you take this argument one step more. How can energy exist in a void? So it must be supported by something else. Okay. So then he comes to the fact that this energy is supported by consciousness. Then again the same argument. How can consciousness itself, without a support, without a solid substance, okay, how can it exist? You can't have a statue without a foundation for the statue. So what is the foundation for this universe, this energy, this consciousness? What is the fundamental foundation? That's what is coming to. So you come to this, that there is first a universe and it is material. And that material consciousness is, material is supported by energy. And that energy is supported by consciousness, and that consciousness is supported by Sat. So you end up with the Satchidananda. The foundation of everything is Satchidananda. That you can accept. Okay? So this is the first argument. Now he says, let us examine the other example, that the physical universe is unreal. That's what he is discussing now. So if the physical world is unreal, okay, who is seeing it as unreal? Is it the Brahman? So he has argued. And if Brahman is the only reality, it cannot produce something unreal. Yet you are seeing that the unreality of the physical world you are experiencing. Therefore, there must be some real capacity. So therefore, we have a mystery. At one level, it is real, and another level, it is unreal. Therefore, it could be something real or unreal. In other words, Maya, the link between the supreme and the physical universe, is itself a problem. So let us examine Maya. So now, examining Maya in this paragraph, he is saying there are two possibilities. Either Maya is real or it is unreal. Okay? So now in this para, he is discussing Maya is in some way real. And the next one, he will examine if Maya itself is unreal. Okay, so I think I'll do one thing. I'll make a note on paper and keep track of the arguments. Then it becomes much easier. So now he is examining if Maya is real, what conclusion can we come to? Okay, so it's not a very big para. I'll read it quickly. If Maya is in some way real, so this argument is Maya is real. The conclusion imposes itself that Brahman is the reality, is the Brahman the reality, is in that way the percipient of Maya, because Maya is real and Brahman is real. And Brahman can see only reality, and he is the only one that exists, there is nothing else. Therefore, it is Brahman who is seeing the Maya. Okay? Maya may be his power of differentiating perception, or the power of Maya consciousness, which distinguishes it from the true consciousness of soul spiritual self, is his creative perception of difference. The physical world is difference, distinguishing. Or Maya must be, at least, if this creation of difference is considered to be the only result and not the essence of Maya force, some power of Brahman's consciousness. For it's only a consciousness that can see or create an illusion, and there cannot be another original or originating consciousness than that of Brahman. But since Brahman is also self-aware forever, there must be a double status of Brahman consciousness. So now we are giving another theory, and let us examine the theory. On the one hand, it is the Maya is real and the Brahman is real and it's creating unreality. How can that be? So, obviously, we have to conclude that Brahman consciousness is capable of a double status. One, it is creating real forms, and the other is creating unreal forms. So, that's what he concludes. If Maya is real and Brahman is real, there can be only, you have to give a different interpretation to Brahman. He is capable of a dual status. He is capable of producing real forms and he is also capable of producing unreal forms. So that's what we have to come to. Because the world you see is unreal, therefore you have to posit that. That's the solution that is coming. Or Maya must be, at least, if this creation of difference is considered to be only a result and not the essence of Maya force, some power of Brahman's consciousness. For it's only a consciousness that can see or create an illusion, and there cannot be another original or originating consciousness than that of Brahman. But since Brahman is also self-aware of forever, there must be a double status of Brahman consciousness. One conscious of the soul reality, the other conscious of the unrealities to which by its created perception of them it gives some kind of apparent existence. Now, this is a supposition, and we'll have to examine the supposition also and see whether it's possible. Okay? These unrealities cannot be made of the substance of the reality, for then they must also be real. In this view, we cannot accept the assertion of the Upanishads that the world is made out of the supreme existence is a becoming. So you have to negate if that's a view, you have to negate the Upanishadic theory that the physical world is created by the Brahman and it's a reality. So you have to negate it. The world is made out of the supreme existence, subtle substance. It's a becoming. An outcome or product of the eternal being. Brahman is not the material cause of the universe. That's what you have to come to. Our nature, as opposed to ourselves, is not made of its spiritual substance. It is constructed out of an unreal reality of Maya. But on the contrary, our spiritual being is of that substance. He is indeed the Brahman. Brahman is above Maya, but he is also the percipient of his creations, both from above and from within Maya. This dual consciousness offers itself as a sole plausible explanation of the riddle of an real eternal percipient, an unreal percept, and the perception that is a half-real creator of unreal percepts. So, when we conclude that Maya is real, then you have this problem. That Brahman must be capable of a double status. That's the conclusion that he comes to. Okay, so I think next time what I'll do, I'll try, okay, to go step by step. I'll write down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then it will be easier to follow. Even then it will be complicated, but I'm telling you, we'll try and do that. Okay, so,
Rangata,
yeah, tell me.
can you put it like this? It's like a magician who in magic show, they make the things disappear. But actually it is not disappear. The things are that only. It is a total illusion. So what is reality and what is unreal? We don't know. It's totally Maya.
Okay.
Both the part of Maya. Reality means the Maya is real and the Maya is unreal type, because he makes the thing disappear, but actually the things are not disappeared. It is on the stage only, but somewhere in a hidden form.
That's why they call it illusionism. Okay? It's your senses which they are deceiving. The magicians in the world, okay, P.C. Sarkar and many others, nowadays very common. You see in YouTube, all sorts of magic tricks are there. They cut a woman into two. Nah? You have seen that also. So, and then she stands up and starts smiling at everybody. So, this is all illusions. So, They are tricking your senses. Your senses are imperfect and they take full advantage of that. Okay?
It is same with the Maya.
Yeah. You know, Maya in the discovery here, when Srimli is talking of Maya, it's a power of the divine. Okay? So he's examining what is the nature of Maya. When you are discussing the other one, that is the magician trick in the physical world, that is different. You are giving the name of Maya because it's a mystery. You don't know how it is real. That's it. But here he is not discussing that Maya in that sense. Actually, we have given from the, in Sriyamna when we are reading, it is the philosophical discussion. But Maya is used for the word in the physical world for magicians because it seems to be a mystery. That's,
Ah.
that's it. So, we have to now note down page 460, if there is not this dual consciousness. That's what we read. He has given a theory, now we have to examine the theory itself. Okay? So, okay, note down
Yes, I'll make a
460,
note.
page 460, if there is
Mhm.
not this dual consciousness.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Au revoir and have a nice day, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, Ambada.
Thank you.